Okay, I'm starting the Facebook live stream now, and then we'll get Brendan the link.
And I don't know if you all saw, just moments before we started, I sent out some revisions to the special meeting minutes and to the regular meeting with Terry's suggestion.
Okay, we're set on Facebook and streaming on the website.
Great, thank you, Don.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the regular monthly meeting. It's March 8th of the Saratoga Springs Public Library Board of Trustees. The minutes. You sent around a recent draft of the minutes?
I did. Oops, you know what? I didn't include them here. Hold on just a moment. So what they did was they greatly simplified and made some corrections to what Carmen sent out, and they were different enough that rather than, I put my signature on them.
Oh, the special meeting.
Yeah, so I don't know, are you seeing these on your screen here?
I see that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's much simpler.
And it eliminated the transcript. And that, I think Carmen included that simply because it was the first time that she had it available to her, but that wasn't anything that required board approval. And she was, and in terms of the outline for the minutes, she was going by a regular meeting minute order of business, which is actually different from the special meeting. So.
My name is spelled wrong where I moved to accept the proposed revision.
Okay. Yeah.
Not a major thing, but.
But no, it is a major thing. I know. We'll fix it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, and then we have the regular minutes.
Right, and it does include here the Terry's catch here that it was the motion was to approve the January prepaids and the February warrants.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other suggestions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve these two sets of minutes.
I move to approve the special meeting minutes and the minutes from the February board meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Just and so for Sue, that was Katie made the motion and Heather seconded. Is that okay? Thank you.
Okay. The February prepaid checks, we have to approve them. So we have the February prepaid checks, number 68648 to 68651, total $1,126.16. We also have to approve those are March warrants we have to approve, right?
Correct.
March warrants and checks. number 68652 to 68720, totaling $99,314.62. Does anybody have any questions about this list, or do you? If there are no questions about these expenditures, I'll take a motion to accept them.
I move to approve the expenditures. February prepaid checks 68648 to 68651 and warrants checks 68652 to 68720.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Financial reports. The February prepage of the March warrant summary sheet, which we just went over. The budget report.
And as far as I can see, I don't think there's anything unusual on the budget report unless somebody has a question, or unless Eric has something to point out.
Nothing to point out at this time for me.
Thank you, Eric.
All right, so and then the income report. Nothing jumps out at me. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Right, and there was nothing unusual, I think, in February as far as the income goes. Looks like we lost Terry there for a minute, but he looks like he's coming back.
Has he returned?
Yeah, Terry, it looks like we lost you for a minute, but you're back. Did you have questions?
I put in chat that my audio wasn't working,
Oh, okay.
and now it is. I think you're hearing me now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So Terry, did you have anything, any questions regarding the budget report or the income report?
I did not.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the financial reports? The February prepaids and the March warrant summary, the budget report, and the income report.
I move to accept the financial reports.
I second that.
All in favor?
I
I
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And just for Sue for the minutes, in case she didn't catch that, that was Janet moved and Katie seconded.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
The president's report, I have nothing to report right now. Is there any public comment?
No. I mean, there is a communication, which I think we'll probably discuss at a later meeting, from a staff member who wants reconsideration of the budget, the salary structure that we've proposed for next fiscal year.
Yeah, I've been speaking to Ike about that, and I'm going to send around a copy of the correspondence from a staff member making inquiries about the salaries for next year. But we're still discussing it at the moment. if that's it for correspondence and communication, I guess the director's report.
So I don't know if there were questions about my written report, which was pretty short this time around, but as far as our reopening status, we're kind of in a holding pattern at this point. We're at stage 4 of our 8-stage reopening, and we're looking at formulating some metrics that potentially get us beyond this point, which will very likely have to do with continued decreases in test positivity rates in Saratoga County, and an added metric that will have to do with vaccination rates is what we're thinking, as we go forward. But for now, we're here today because the governor's executive order that temporarily altered some aspects of the open meeting law allowed virtual meetings to continue. It's uncertain at this point what that will look like going forward. Some of the governor's executive powers were scaled, relating to the pandemic, were scaled back by the legislature last week. So it's hard to know.
I think he's not going to be able to renew orders unless they're reviewed by a committee in the legislature.
Right, that's correct. And so what that looks like in terms of virtual versus in-person meetings as we go forward is an open question. Strategic planning, we've got the first of our many retreat meetings coming up starting tomorrow morning. I think we've got a good crew of staff members, trustees, and community members willing to participate. As you can imagine, asking people to participate in 5 of these meetings over the course of 2 weeks is quite a time commitment for people. So we're grateful for the folks who have stepped up and said that they're willing to do that. And looking forward to that process and what the results of all of the many survey responses and focus groups that we've had over the past several months to start to hear a little bit more about, from the consultants about the results of that feedback. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Do you have a sense of how big the group is this week?
I believe it is going to be in the 12 to 15 person range, depending on how many people who've said that they could come are actually able to commit to the time that we've asked them to commit. So, and that is the range that the consultant says was optimum. And then we've got a couple Saratoga Book Festival related events coming up, just to make you aware of. If you missed the Know Your Price, the Valuing Black Lives and Property, the event with Andre Perry, it is recorded on the Book Festival webpage. Definitely worth a look there. And then we've got a few other, our first event with children's authors is coming up at the end of this month. Kalia Yang and Tricia Springstub in conversation about their picture books. Some of you may remember that how Kalia Yang was our keynote speaker for Saratoga Reads in 2019. She gave a really moving and pretty powerful presentation at Skidmore related to her book, The Late Homecomer, which was her memoir of being born in a camp in Thailand and being resettled in Minnesota. Since that time, she's written a couple of children's books, including one, The Most Beautiful Thing, and she's going to be in conversation with Tricia Springstub, who writes beautiful, different on the surface books for children, but they both are around these themes of intergenerational relationships and finding beauty in the mundane. So it's really looking forward to that event, and that's coming up at the end of this month. And then I'm really happy that we will be partnering with WAMC and the book festival to bring Mark Harris. I don't know, some of you may know Mark Harris as the person who wrote Pictures at a Revolution. He used to be the editor of Entertainment Weekly. He's got a new book out about Mike Nichols. That we'll be hosting him in conversation with Audrey Kupferberg, who does film commentary for WAMC. And that will be coming up in April.
Oh, that's great.
So I don't know if there are any questions about any of that. And next on the agenda is youth statistics. And as I said in an email that I sent to most of you, that typically at this point we would provide you with a report relating to youth statistics. We've foregone that this month as we try to take a step back and regroup how we gather statistics that are meaningful and that are in a format that is reportable to the state. We had included this month, you saw the very lengthy report to the state, the annual report of public and association libraries and the various statistics that they ask for. And the tricky part about that is that many of the statistics they ask for on the fiscal year, many others they ask for on the calendar year. And that changes, it seems, from year to year, what they're asking for. And part of the reason we provide you with the statistics in the format that we do is for a couple of reasons. One, to give you some notion of the progress that we're making on the various goals and objectives that we've set in our strategic plan. And then two, to give you statistics in a format that relates to the way the state is asking for them in that annual report. And as we've talked about over the last several months, it seems like the report that we've been giving you doesn't really achieve either one of those things, since since the state has changed some of the ways it's asking for statistics, and we've been reporting on statistics for an annual report that is essentially expired and about to be replaced with a new report. So I hope that you'll indulge us as we try to figure out the best way to get that data to you in the future to accomplish those two things.
I think we appreciate that, because it's, we appreciate that the statistics don't really work. The traditional statistics don't really work right now.
Right. And you'll notice that in the department reports, we've stripped out that reporting that relates to the strategic plan, and hopefully we will soon replace it with a new reporting structure that relates to our new plan.
Hopefully, maybe the fiscal year things can get normalized.
Yeah, that's our goal.
Okay. Thank you, Ike. The department reports, Jen F is not here. I don't know if there's anything.
So one thing that to point out in her report is she mentions that she participated in a virtual visit with Assemblywoman Mary Beth Walsh, and this was part of the NYLA Library Advocacy Day that was all virtual this year. Jen and I were both in that meeting with Assemblywoman Walsh. There was another meeting with Carrie Warner's staff and an additional meeting with Senator Tedisco's staff. It was, like I say, it's a little bit unusual this year that all of these things were virtual, but and with I'm blanking on her name at the moment. I'll remember our other senator. What's that?
Was it Senator Fahey?
No.
Daphne Jordan.
Daphne Jordan. I could remember Daphne, but saying Senator Daphne didn't sound all that respectful. But yes, Senator Jordan. We had a meeting with her staff, and she is a huge library supporter. In fact, she helped to build the Clifton Park Half Moon Public Library many moons ago, and so she was very receptive to our message. So, And Senator Tedisco is now filling a position that that is, you know, his predecessor was also a very large supporter of libraries, and so you know, we do have a lot of support for libraries both in the Senate and the Assembly locally.
Laura here?
Laura is here. I'm sorry, Laura, you're muted there. So
Okay,
there you go.
we have a lot of cute pictures this month. You can see from the beginning, we started our story times. And the nursery rhyme kits and the videos are below the first set of pictures. You can see the little kid with the elephant, and those have been really popular, as well as our grab and go kits have been flying out the door. So those are really our most popular programs so far. Except that this month I was also able to do some, with Ike's permission, some outdoor programs with Whitland Wildlife Preserve. We collaborated on having a snowshoe tracking hunt, which was successful, and 5 owl prowls. And all our slots were filled with a waiting list. So everybody was really happy to get outdoors and do something. We were really pleased with that. And I did include a YouTube link on the owl prowls if you have a chance later on to look at it. And it's also on our website and on the Wilton website that one of the environmental educators did. And it's just amazing. It's about a 5-minute link on the different kind of owls you can see in New York State. If you just want to relax, have a good time, just watch that. Heather has been doing really well with the teen group. The D&D she started, and besides the advanced D&D, she divided it up into a beginner's D&D, and that is helping her get up on par with her D&D skills also. The tag group is kind of revised and getting started again, so that's good. And of course, her grab and go bags. So while we're discouraged because people don't seem to want to sign into the Zoom programs, I think they're zoomed out. We were really pleased this month that we did have a lot of things that folks were interested in. That's it.
And for the uninitiated, D&D is Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you, Laura.
Sure.
And Jeno is here.
Yeah, hi. I don't have a whole lot this month other than kind of the normal statistics here, and a lot of our programs that we've been doing are ongoing and keep going. The couple things I did want to just mention is with regards to online resources, and that is, I know in Jen S. report she included it too, that RB Digital has, excuse me, Overdrive now has the magazines basically. So there's over, I think, do you remember, is it 30,000 magazines, something titles, and so that's now available to anybody that has an Overdrive Libby app, which is very exciting. And I know I've been going crazy with their crafting magazines. So that's very neat. The other thing, speaking of crafting, and Callie's been doing a lot of work on this, is we are going to start a subscription to Creative Bug, which is an online resource through Joanne's. They started off, I think, last year, and we took a look at it, and there was not a whole lot of unique content at that point, I think, but some of the surrounding libraries have been subscribing to it and using it for programming. And so we took another look at it, and it seems that they've actually developed and curated their collection. So we decided to go ahead and do that. And so hopefully we'll fill a void there for people trying to do some craft classes with us. And other than that, I think, we've got some Saratoga Reads programs coming up on the horizon, and Kelly had one with about the Underground Railroad. And yeah, we're looking forward to spring and summer, and maybe getting a chance to do some small group outdoor programming. Fingers crossed.
So the answer to your question, Jen, was 3,345 magazine titles
Thank you.
in overdrive.
Normally at this time of year, we provide some assistance with people doing their taxes. Is that right? We can't do it this year.
That's correct.
That is
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
So we usually work with a set of volunteers who come into the library and meet with people to help them with their taxes. And because we don't really have any available space to sit and meet right now, we're unable to do that this year, and our volunteers were really not comfortable trying to handle sensitive information virtually. So what we have been doing is we have the tax forms now from New York State and federal in our foyer for people to pick up. And for those that are looking for tax prep help, United Way is doing a fantastic job of connecting people with free programming, with free volunteers through their 211. So we've been asking people to use that and connect with them because they have a couple of different places where people can drop off their taxes and have them done and then come and pick them up later, or arrange to do a virtual visit with a preparer.
And I'm sure next year we'll try to reprise the old program.
We
right?
would love it because we know people need it and they really look for it. It was just the unfortunate circumstances of this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for John? If not, hello? If not, I guess we'll move on to Tara.
Hi there. So two main things in my report requiring board review, discussion, and hopefully approval. The first having to do with the pandemic operations plan. This is something required by state mandate of all public employers. It's intended to be disseminated to employees. So it will be posted eventually on our intranet, on our staff site, as well as made available on site. But it will likely also be the public-facing document. And as mentioned in my narrative, it combines a couple of pieces that we had developed early on a year ago: the health emergency response plan, the required business reopening safety plan, and then some additional components required as part of, again, the new pandemic operations plan that is needed by April 1st. So it's a lengthy document, but we hope it will be a one-stop for future updating, and it's intended to cover not just the current pandemic, but any future similar health emergency of a similar scope. So we make a lot of reference to and have retained a lot of our learning about COVID-19, but there are explanations and wording throughout the document that also reference that any future action will be dictated by whatever the nature of the future pandemic happens to be. So looking for approval, or if there are any questions about that.
I wanted to just say that I thought it was really well organized and really easy to navigate, and I really appreciated how much work you put into making it very accessible, I thought, as a document that large.
Thanks, Kate. Again, it was a group effort. And again, this has been a culmination of basically a year's worth of effort on several people's behalf. So we hope that it will serve the purpose going forward. And it is a monster document, but again, hopefully that active table of contents will make it easier to refer to going forward.
Yeah, it's great to have it in one. It's great to have it in one place.
Yeah, that's what we hope.
Hopefully, we won't need it. But yeah, it's great to have it. Does anyone have any other questions about this? Looks like most of the stuff we've kind of approved already.
Correct.
I move that we accept the pandemic operations plan as a policy.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Great.
Was that Manita who seconded or Katie?
Katie,
Me.
Katie, okay.
thank you for that. The
Thank
second
you.
item is really more minor, but still, as we're navigating, we continue to navigate first-time things. We were closed for weather reasons the day after President's Day, but we're sort of open for virtual programs, which was again a little bit of a difference from the decision that had been made previously about honoring snow closure days or weather closure days as before, as in before times. So we had an existing policy on inclement weather and extraordinary circumstances that spelled out pay and hours for just about every classification of employee, with the exception of those who actually ended up working on this past snow closure, which were our full-time exempt employees. So in the interest of just wanting to be consistent and clear in our expectations, I'm just suggesting the addition of this additional bold-faced statement here in the policy excerpt that speaks to full-time exempt employees performing essential work on a day when the library is otherwise closed for weather-related reasons. Again, just for clarity going forward, because now that we are able to do virtual work, it will likely be the case in the future. We have the ability, so the desire is there, and I know that the programs went on and were attended, so especially for those who were stuck home and looking to us for some entertainment and learning.
In human resource speak, so that's with a temporary schedule change.
Yeah, it's just basically if I've worked extra hours at a time on a day when everyone else is not working, then I'm gonna, if I worked on a Tuesday, those extra hours, then I'm going to take off a little early on a Friday. It's basically a shifting of time to essentially accommodate individuals who ended up working more than the rest of the staff during the emergency closure.
And if I may, a little bit of additional background on this, as Tara says, everything is new, right? We're encountering new situations all the time these days. In the past, the inclement weather closing policy didn't address public service issues because there was always an assumption that if the library was closed, there wouldn't be an ability to provide public service. This time, and so there was no mention of these full-time exempt employees who are the librarians, essentially, who would be at service desks. This time around, since we had the ability to do it, so there were a number of circumstances that came into play. We had the unexpected closure because of a big ice storm. It was during school break week, and we had a number of Zoom-based programs already scheduled that we knew that people who were on break with their children were relying on as a way to fill the time for their kids. And then we had other programs that day that had multiple co-presenters or that were partnerships. So for example, one of the programs that day was one of these Saratoga Book Festival events that was a partnership between the library, Skidmore College, the book festival, and I think there was at least one other partnership there. And even though we were closed, some other places were still operating, and the people that were presenting the programs were, thousands of miles away. So this is kind of a new thing. And so we made the decision that even though we were closed, we had the ability, people were relying on us both in terms of partnerships and in, activities during break week to carry on with the programs, if not anything else that day.
Well, it makes sense.
But then since there was no way to account for this time in the policy, that's where this policy is born.
Yeah. Does anybody have any comments or do we have a motion?
I move to approve the change in, how shall I word this, Sarah? Doesn't have a title, does it?
It does.
Maybe it's an addition to the existing inclement weather policy.
That's what I move to approve. And in addition to the inclement weather policy.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Heather, did you have
Motion
a question, or were you raising your hand to second before Terry chimed in?
I was going to second, but that's
Okay.
Okay, that motion carries.
Great,
And
thank
I
you.
had one other question, Tara, about your report about the question to the attorneys.
Sure.
With that response. And so where did all of you decide that you are going to gather that statistical information, the vaccine rates or have you not decided what you're going to do with that reply?
We, as a management team, haven't yet discussed, but I might end up, and this assumes that my management cohorts are on board with this. Employees seem to respond pretty well to surveys. So I might just launch another survey asking people to voluntarily offer up if they are vaccinated, just so we can maybe have like an internal vaccine challenge. We've had eco challenges and go paperless direct deposit challenges. So maybe something along those lines to incentivize and to encourage and educate people on the importance of getting vaccinated. But at this point, the only information that I am collecting, and I know that this was an open-ended question after our last meeting, is I am asking for employees who are obtaining the vaccine and using that COVID-19 paid leave to provide me and me only with proof of their vaccination. So at a minimum, I do have information on people who are getting vaccinated on their scheduled time and getting paid for it. But I know that there are other individuals on staff who are likely obtaining the vaccination and not using our paid time. And I'm not yet collecting information on that. If I were to do so, it would really be in a very generic, non-employee specific way in order to respect health privacy. So that's kind of where we're at this point.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Rick,
Yes,
how are you, Rick?
I'm doing okay.
Is there anything you wanted to point out?
Ike pointed the first thing out early in his report, that the elevator is functioning. So that was a great piece. And, the only other piece that I've seen, we are starting to see some movement in the cost structures for long-term contracts. But I really expect to see that differential become more favorable towards the end of the month. And that's pretty much it. Trying to wait till the weather warms up. Not too hot and not too cold. That helps us.
It's supposed to warm up next week.
Yeah, these contracts look across the country as they're aggregators. So it's not just one region, although pricing is regional. Supply and demand at work. Any other questions? It's pretty much all I have at this time.
All right, thank you, Rick. Okay, old business reopening status?
I think we covered that in my report, so we're good there.
Strategic planning, I think you gave us an update.
Yes, yeah.
New business employee handbook updates. I think what's left is the annual report for public and association libraries.
That's correct. And, I know it's a hefty document there. I didn't know if anybody had any questions about what's included there. The initial document I sent you, I had some troubles sorting out the financial reporting aspects, but Eric was a huge help on Saturday morning to get that fixed. And that is what the revised version that I sent you. So there is a section there that talks, that asks about whether there was trustee training in calendar year 2020.
May I have your attention, please?
Sorry, it was a closing announcement for the library, so I just muted there for a minute. And I answered yes to that, and the rationale for answering yes was that many of you were provided with trustee handbooks and a big binder full of onboarding materials. And then, I included information or the sessions that we had with the consultants relating to the strategic planning as training.
Like at the end of the report, you registered disagreement about the usefulness. Is that the kind of concerns that you were discussing earlier, or was that a separate?
Yeah, no, I mean, that it really is about the confusion that is caused when they're asking for data over multiple years without a great deal of clarity in the instructions because we've answered some of the questions multiple times before, or I did before I realized that I should have been answering them a different way based on the reporting year that they were asking for.
Do you think there's hope that those objections will be heard?
Very little, very little. But potentially, I mean, it is a tricky thing, and as as the staff who provide the data to complete the report know that it is always a little bit tricky because there are some things that are constant, that we know that they're always going to ask about FTE. We never know whether they're going to ask about it on a calendar year or on a fiscal year, but that seems to be pretty much in line with the fiscal year. It's really the transactional information which seems to change, like program attendance and borrowing, et cetera, that really does seem to change from year to year, and we never know what questions. It's hard to prepare to respond to the questions because we never really have knowledge of what questions they're going to ask until they ask them.
This is filed with who?
It's with the state library.
The state library. Does it ever generate a larger report?
It does, and and I shouldn't say that it's there is some useful information. The way the question is asked, is this useful to me to provide you with this information? I don't know, but the data is gathered and used by the IMLS, which is the Federal Library and Museum Agency. And so there's a huge data set for the way libraries use it. And it is useful if we're comparing apples to apples to be able to see how we're performing compared to our peers, other libraries in the state, other libraries of similar size, similar budgets, providing, as I say, that we're all understanding the instructions for the reporting the same way.
Does anyone have any questions about the information on it? I move that we approve the annual report for 2002.
2020?
I'm sorry, 2020.
Okay.
The annual report for public and association libraries, 2020.
I
Second.
second that.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean, it may be the case that in the course of reviewing it, so the way it goes now is we hit the submit button, it goes to SALS. And SALS goes over the data and they give the final, they do the final submission to the state. They may find something in there that they have a question about and they may come back and ask for clarification. And so what I wonder is if there is a question that they ask for clarification, does your approval include with potential revisions in the event that SALS has a question?
I would say, yeah, I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say yes. If everyone has that understanding that it may require subsequent revisions if SALS has some questions about certain data. On that premise, I will once again move to accept the annual report for the Public and Association Libraries 2020.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. My screen just kind of went bluey.
We can see you,
I
Frank.
can still see and hear you.
Okay, there we go. We're back. But Ike used to be like the main guy in my screen. Now it's Katie. Now it's Katie. I feel like I'm in the room.
Or you might have changed your view somehow to speak.
Now I'm back to you. I have no control over any of this. You're the guy. So I think that is everything, right?
It is, yes.
Okay, so we stand adjourned. I think I'll see Terry tomorrow, and I guess you too, Ike, in the morning.
Yeah, and the gens will be there. So.
Oh, the gens will be there too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, we're adjourned. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.